World Championship experience at just 17 years old, a racing space for all ages. Hyrox, the growth continues. Now we're starting to see that younger age category where it's starting to fill up with all the young talent. Hello and welcome to On the Rocks podcast with me, Coach Marshy. Hope everyone is well, whether you're listening or watching this episode, and hopefully whichever phase of training you're in currently, you're doing well and it's all progressing in the right direction. So let's begin with what we just said and let's bring in today's guest on that. So hello and welcome, Harry. Hello, Harry. How are you?
Good, thank you. How about you?
Yeah, no, all good, mate. Thanks very much. So let's kind of talk about that last little bit there where I said at the intro, that kind of your thoughts around the Hyrox space right now and that kind of popularity growth amongst that younger community now. We're starting to see a lot more of you guys in that younger category than we had previously. What are your sort of initial thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's becoming like a sport. So it's motivating and encouraging to see like it attracting more young people. I mean, for me, it started off as like something that I just like a competition that I wanted to do, but as it's grown, it's my sport now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's why it's encouraging more and attracting more young people to get involved, because people do their first race and are like, "Oh, I love this. This is so cool," and then they want to become like a full-time athlete in it. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about your journey in a bit and kind of how you got into it a bit more specifically. But without assuming that you're already into sport, which I think you are, but I think, is it trendy among the younger sort of generation? Is it a trendy thing, Hyrox? Is it something that people are looking at and it kind of, I don't know, maybe gives you a bit of street cred or makes you like puts you in with a certain crowd? You know, what do you think on that kind of side of things?
I don't know. Maybe I
Yeah,
think it will become like more popular and like quite trendy, but right now there's not much of us doing it. There's only a couple.
yeah, no,
I definitely think it will progress into one of them things where like younger people look up to, say, people like me and like other of the younger athletes who are doing well, and be like, "Oh, sick! I want to do that."
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think sort of who you are and your background. Just tell us a little bit about that to give us some sort of context of you know where you are in your life, you know what you're up to at the current stage of your life, and you know who you are on a day-to-day basis, really.
I'll start off from the beginning. So I was born here, and then my family moved to New Zealand when I was 3. So then I lived there for 12 years and moved back to the UK in 2022. So yeah, that's that New Zealand's been a massive part of my upbringing.
Yeah.
And then yeah, we moved here in 2022. And yeah, it's been an experience coming back.
Different way of life, you know, because obviously you'd have
Yeah.
been used to the sort of Kiwi culture, if you like. You'd have been used to that, but when you came back to the UK, did you know, in terms of like lifestyle and activity, did you notice a difference in that?
Oh, massively. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I always find that quite an interesting discussion about the Southern Hemisphere versus us lot up here,
Yeah.
and you know, sort of attitude towards sport and attitude towards movement
Yeah.
and things like that. I mean, yeah, No, I mean, that's interesting. That's something that I didn't previously know about you as well. So obviously those guys are just getting Hyrox really down there now.
Yeah. Hopefully there's going to be a New Zealand race soon, which I mean, I want to go to it if it does happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's got us. I don't. There's not been, on recording here at this point. Nothing's been announced, has it? Obviously, the Aussies have got their sort of 3 races now, but I don't think there's anything announced yet. But,
I think there's a few rumors floating around that New Zealand's going to get a race, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll see.
we might talk about the Aussies in this sport a little bit later on because we both have a common friend. But I think once the Aussies and the Kiwis really get hold of this, they're likely, in my opinion, to start producing world champions.
Yeah, I mean, it'll explode over there.
I mean, if you look at what happened in CrossFit, they've got a representation in CrossFit at the top end of the sport. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm kind of a fan of the whole sport of hybrid and CrossFit and everything. So I kind of look at it that way. So Harry, in terms of like you and Hyrox, let's talk about the journey that you've been on so far. So just tell us a bit about what experience race-wise you've had already. You're 17 currently. How much race experience have you got? What have you taken part in? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I guess I found Hyrox when I found out the whole hybrid fitness scene when I moved here from New Zealand. Because I played football my whole life, so moving here I didn't have a club or anything, so I needed a way to stay fit and active. So I found like a local CrossFit gym, which I got involved in there, and then after training there for like a couple of months, they all were doing like a Hyrox together. So I was like, oh, this looks cool. I'll give this a go. And did my very first one with my dad. So I did a doubles in Birmingham. I think it was 2022, 23. And at that point, I was like, I think I was only just 16. So like the very youngest you could be. So yeah, me and my dad did that. And then I remember walking into the NEC Birmingham venue for the first time. I was blown away. I was like, this is sick. I wanna do this. Like this, I knew this would be like my next thing that I want to focus on. So then I think after that race, I knew football wouldn't be my future. It'd be this. I just was optimistic to how far it'd grow, whether it would grow enough for me to stop football and fully pursue this. So then I carried on playing football for a year. Signed up for my first solo, which was in London at 16.
Which so was that Olympia 23?
No, that was Excel.
Excel, so last November sort of thing. Yeah, okay, yeah.
I did that, loved it just as much as Birmingham. And then after that, I knew I wanted to stop football. It was just about timing. So I finished the rest of the season, decided to stop football this year and fully commit to being like a Hyrox athlete. Because the level of football I was playing at, I was in like an academy. So it was full time, 2 games a week. Like we were training like at least twice a day. It was like a proper like full. I was training like a full time athlete with the football. So transitioning from football into Hyrox, I had the same training load, but it was just for a different sport. So yeah, I made the decision this year to stop football and pursue being a full-time Hyrox athlete.
Yeah, no, it's an intriguing question. You and I met at a recent fitness event called Strive at Forders in Birmingham, and we had a little brief discussion about things there in regards to this, but I am intrigued. Why choosing Hyrox over pursuing football? I kind of explained to you what I thought if I was kind of your age now, which 20-year age difference between us, and had this have been available to me at your age, I would have potentially made the same decision as you. And I know why I would have made that decision, but why have you made that decision?
I think the cool and unique thing about Hyrox is that no matter what fitness level you have, no matter your ability, like anything, you feel like you're a professional athlete in that environment. So when you're doing them last 10 reps of the wall balls and you've got a crowd around you and everyone's cheering each other on, and in that moment you feel like you're in a stadium with everyone like shouting your name and all of that. That's such a unique experience that in football you can only get if you're at the highest level, at that 1%.
Yeah.
Whereas with Hyrox, no matter what your ability is, you can get that experience.
Yeah.
So then, I think,
like you say about that kind of feeling, and anyone who's watching the YouTube of this will see the background to the screen that we're in, and that's sort of me coming over the finish line at November 23 in the XL, and that was the kind of the Thunderdome first appearance, if you like, and there was 3 tiers to it, and it was a bit like what you just described in terms of that unique feeling in sport that if you ran you wouldn't even get that run in a half marathon. You might get it if you run London Marathon quick enough. But again, it requires you to be quick enough. Whereas the whole area is always full at Hyrox because there's that kind of natural cycle of spectator for whoever's in there. And they're all there and everyone shouts for everyone and there's a lot of noise. And I mean, it kind of, it's kind of, if you know, right? Because you've been there, done it. I've been there and done it. Actually, if you spectated, I guess it works the same. You'll have seen it in that way. But that is a really interesting answer. And if you were to talk to Christian and Mo, the founders of Hyrox, and played them the answer that you just gave, they would probably tick a box and say, "Well, that's what we set out to do." And it's great that everyone can feel that way about the sport. And I think every day is a school day, and you might be 17 and there might be a lot of us older people listening to this, but you've kind of taught us there the kind of humbleness around it and why it can be great for everyone and why it's not all about the elite 15 necessarily, but we are going to get onto that in a minute. So before that, you highlighted that you're into football. I think you've kind of explained there very well in terms of my thoughts around why I would do it. So you're in this Hyrox space. You've done your first solo in November 23. Tell me what that then led on to.
So after stopping football and committing to being a Hyrox athlete, I signed up for Birmingham solos. That was this season. That was this season. And I got a 20-minute PB on my solo. Just from training for the past 6 months for Hyrox. So that was really cool. So once I finished that, I was like, there's potential here. So then after that, I signed up for Glasgow in the new year for solos again. And then did Glasgow. Didn't really go how I planned, but I learned so much from it. And then I started with JK, James Kelly, after Glasgow and signed up for a London solos at Olympia and qualified for world champs at Olympia.
Fantastic. So you were what we call, as quite a few of my guys were at the gym, late qualifier.
Yeah, genuinely, yeah.
Yeah.
Weeks away from the world champs.
It doesn't give you a lot of time, does it?
No,
So let's rewind and unpack that a little. So JK, James Kelly, the third place male bronze medalist in the Elite 15 race in Nice. I think anyone who's taken any interest in the sport will probably be aware of JK. I think his journey's pretty cool. He's been on the show. Anyone who listens to the show regularly will have seen JK and Georgie's show with myself. But why JK? What was it for you that made you decide I'm going to go with this guy? Was it that you met him or you had a chat with him online? Did anything happen that kind of cemented why you should go that way?
I mean, yeah, I spoke to him briefly over Instagram over like the past year or so. But I guess what like drew me into like JK as opposed to all the other like coaches I could have gone with out there was like I think he's really good at just being brutally honest. Like you'll see some of his videos on Instagram and it is just like straight to the point. You either you either agree with it or you don't. But I think that's what you need, especially if you want to really improve your time and your fitness. You need that person to tell you when you're doing something wrong and tell you when you're doing something right, because then you really know when you are doing it right and when you're probably not being smart. So yeah, that's why I like JK.
As a coach, I completely agree with that, and I think in this industry of the wider fitness industry, we can become very like too much sympathy and too much empathy out there if you've got related sort of issues or experiences with your clients as a coach, and you can kind of become a little bit soft as a coach. But I think I think what you're saying there about JK is I think you're right in that he will be brutal, and then obviously you've then got the choice how you take that feedback. You either take it on board or you don't. But I think he's the kind of guy that if you take on board the feedback he's giving, you're gonna move forward and get to certain levels as a minimum, even if you just follow what he's saying, because he will give you the right path and the direction. And I think he has always come across that way, and I think it's awesome. The times that I've met him in person, he's been the same as well. And to be honest, from my point of view, brutally honest about most things. You ask him a question and you get the honest truth. And I think from your perspective as a young athlete, you got to get your experience from somewhere and someone, and why not get it from a guy that's come third in the world who,
that's what I mean. He backs it up as well, doesn't he?
Oh, he did. In my opinion, he did more than back it up. But I suppose I had a little bit of emotional investment because obviously I interviewed him after his last chance qualifier.
Yeah.
So then I kind of got unpacked all of his emotions with that, and what the goal was in Nice, and then I was there in Nice to watch it in my own eyes, and he did back it up. You're right. And as an athlete of his, does that just give you more faith in the process?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it just makes me trust his programming even more.
Yeah.
And it just makes me want to commit to it. Like I just want to tick off everything that he set me, because in my head it's like, oh, it's obviously working.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, so you met him now as well in person, right?
Yeah, I met him at Nice for the first time in person.
That's cool.
Yeah, top guy.
Yeah, no, brilliant. And sort of now, let's talk about sort of now where you've been. You've been to Nice. It was super hot in there. It was a good day out. Was it a good weekend away? Was it everything that we experienced in terms of our athletes and what we've heard? How did you sort of feel? Were you there with family? How did it go for you? What was kind of that weekend all about for you? How did it go?
I don't really know how to put it into words, to be honest. It was one of the coolest experiences of my life.
Yeah.
My mum and my dad were able to come out to me, which that meant a lot having them there. But yeah, the whole like experience, it was like, yeah, it it was like, you know, we were talking about that the feeling of the last 10 reps on the wall balls, and everyone's like in the stands and cheering. It was that on another level for like the whole weekend.
It was.
Like even down to the little things, like getting a personalized shirt with your name on and your country's flag. Like, how cool is that? Like, that's so many people are getting to experience being a professional athlete, which in sports you have to be in like the 1%.
Yeah. And I
And I
think
think
Hyrox,
that's the unique thing about Hyrox.
did they officially categorize it as the top 2%, wasn't it, in the end, is what they reckoned it
Yeah,
was. Of
top
those
two.
that participated, you were the top 2%. And then, yeah, so like that whole professional experience, I mean, we're in an Olympic year. So there's that kind of walk-in of nations, the parade of nations. And in Hyrox, we do that as well at the World Champs. And, you know, what was that feeling like? It's, you know, something that I've watched twice. Not ever been involved in myself, but being out there doing that walk in.
Yeah, it was like, talk about butterflies in your stomach. It was insane.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I can't put it into words.
And I think whether you're 17, 37 or 67, I think it's just cool, isn't it? It's just cool.
Yeah.
But it is a bit of you know, if you know, you know, and if you don't know, then I'd probably recommend you find out and then decide that you don't like Hyrox. At least give it a go and, you know, go and watch an event, go and see something, because it's an unknown quantity at the moment, I think. And once people get in there, it'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger, which is probably why they're seeing the exponential growth curve at the minute with it, I think. So, you know, we're talking about this current season, we're going to go into 450,000 predicted worldwide. I mean, when I did my Hyrox qualification in March 23, that season we were in, they were talking about 90,000 participants worldwide. And we had 33,000 in the UK. I mean, it like tripled the next season, and now it's going to go again. And I mean, who knows, right? Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, amazing for those that have been to, you know, Vegas, Manchester or Nice, because the standard's bound to keep going up, right?
Oh yeah, the competition is just getting way higher. So instead of it being like 2%, you've got to be in like the 0.5%.
Yeah,
It's just going to get it's turning into a sport.
And it's a cool sport as well. And I think it's one of those scenarios. How do you know someone does Hyrox? Trust me, they will tell you in the first 10 minutes of meeting them that you do Hyrox.
Yeah.
Which is probably why, you know, myself and Carol, for example, went to Forders to the Strive event, because you just go and hang around with the right people, so that it's okay to talk about this stuff all the time. It's why we're here. It's why we're talking to you today. We want to know these stories, your story. I mean, it's really unique so far. It's awesome. You're the first guest of your kind as well, in terms of your age and your kind of experience so far. So I think telling people these stories is really, really crucial. So on that note, what does the story look like for you going forward? You know, firstly, let's talk about this next season, and then beyond that, sort of ultimate stretch goals. What is Harry looking to do?
So yeah, this season I've only got Poland booked on the 1st of November. That's in pro. And then I've got Stockholm booked in December, which is open. For Poland as well, I'm doing a mixed doubles with my mum the day after my pro race, which should be good because she's really into Hyrox as well. Done a couple. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That'll be good.
Here's a rhetorical question for Hyrox. Not that anyone will be listening at this stage, but how many people, how many under 20-year-olds would have done a mixed doubles with their mum or dad and then a same-sex doubles with the other parent? Because that will be you by the time you've done that with your mum, right?
Yeah,
And that's you got to argue that's really cool on its own.
I've
To get
I've actually done one with my brother as well. So
have you?
yeah,
Have you got any other siblings or just one brother?
no, unless Hyrox bring out like a human and dog race, then that's all my family ticked off.
Oh, that is quality. That's cool. That's what this is about. What a great little snippet that is as well. You know,
Yeah,
like that's cool. So I think were your parents there when we were at Strive?
yeah,
I
yeah,
kind of briefly said hello to your mum. I think she acknowledged that we were having a chat, but yeah, that's really cool. What a
yeah,
cool scenario. And you know, to be honest, it's a big bad world out there, and everyone gets old, and you know, life will change for all of us one day if we live our
yeah,
full life. And you know, what a memory for you to have that with both parents. How
yeah,
that will be. That will be really
yeah,
cool. I love that. That's a very cool part of this process. So, okay, so Stockholm, you said was open.
yeah.
Okay, and then you're going to go pro, assuming that World Champs just gone was the first time you touched pro weights, right?
Yeah, first time, yeah.
And you and you had the typical Olympia to Worlds moment to kind of realize that you've got to go from where you were to all of a sudden a 9 kilo ball, 30
Yeah.
kilos sandbag. What does that feel like?
Pretty scary. It was no, it was I knew I was capable of doing it, but in my head it was just like removing all expectations on the
Yeah,
day. So like I went in with the mindset of if I can move that sled 1 inch at a time and it take me half an hour, then so be it. Like I'll take as long as I need to push that sled. I just won't give up, even if it's running at it in like trying to like shoulder barge it just to move it a centimeter and do that like 50 times just to get it over the line. Um, but yeah, I didn't even realize it was pro weights until I got the email, and
yeah.
then I was like, oh, okay,
So
gonna have to start doing them like doing an extra strength workout and eating more. Um,
give us a bit of perspective, because I'm not sure everyone, and so it shouldn't be, bothers looking at the pro weights necessarily. So the sled push, for example, for men in pro, we're talking about 156 odd kilos going up to what is it, 209, is it?
yeah, something like that.
I
Yeah,
mean, that's a huge jump. I mean, I've had a go
mm,
in my gym.
yeah,
I've pushed 112.5 meter length.
yeah,
Didn't do anything for the next 10 minutes afterwards. But yeah, I think for you, you know, at your young age as well, you know, that's a big
yeah,
ask. That is a huge
yeah,
ask from a kind of, you know, growing perspective and those sorts of things as well. So really interesting, you know, that you were one of those qualifiers. That there are many, and Olympia is, I know there's a few races after that that you can also qualify like a week before. I get that. But from a British point of view, that Olympia race has that reputation that you could qualify, and 3 weeks later you are in the World Championships. And by the way, you've never done pro weights, but now you've got to do pro weights.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but how did it sounded like that went well? And obviously you've actively decided now that your first race in this season is going to be a pro race. Any perspectives on why you did that?
Why I decided to go pro first?
Yeah,
Um, I guess it sort of ties into my overall goal of wanting to be in the Elite 15 one day. So I've got to get used to these pro weights, whether I like it or not. So yeah, I guess that for me it wasn't really like there wasn't really much thought in terms of like doing pro weights as my first one as opposed to doing Stockholm Pro. It was just whatever tickets were available.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. And I think you've touched on that then. So for this immediate season, is it to return to the next World Championships?
Yeah, 100%.
And then beyond that, you've kind of just touched on it. So the ultimate goal for you, what is that? Do you believe there's no limit on that? And where is your head at with it all at this stage in your life?
So yeah, my overall goal is to be like the youngest Elite 15 athlete, whether that's in 2 years, 3 years, however long it takes. I want to be in an Elite 15 race as a youngster who's been in this sport from like as young as you could have done from 16. So yeah, that's the overall goal.
And you raise an interesting point there, which might be something for me to discuss with my fellow podcasters in the industry. But there are going to be more of you at a younger age. So one would assume that, you know, if your goal, and we say your goal is at the time of you reaching the Elite 15, you are the youngest on record at that point. That will be something that no one can ever take away from you, because at that moment you would have been the youngest.
Yeah.
But as we have done in professional football over the years, we've seen that age drop and drop and drop.
Yeah.
What do you think? My speculation is that could be the same thing.
Yeah, I think so too.
The only thing, go on.
Sorry, no, I was finished. You go.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say the only thing is like growth and physiology around this, and like optimal strength and stuff like that. Because endurance should be happy days for you young guys. Like if you've always trained it and you've got a good endurance base, we're good. But when you talk about strength, I wonder if there is a lower limit and a lower point, because you will still be able to develop peak strength beyond maybe sort of that base endurance as well. So I wouldn't like to put a number on it. I don't want to be held to it. Maybe we should be brave and talk about it. But do we know what the youngest is right now? Have you looked at it?
No, I think it's early 20s.
Right, okay.
24, 25, maybe.
The girls are gonna see it this year. I think the girls are gonna see it this year. This next season, you know, if you look at the average age of the girls in the Elite 15 now, and you look at what the average age could be with certain stars and times from Nice and whatever arising, I believe we were probably with a few of them at the weekend at Strive, but I think it could be interesting. But I do still believe that the dominant athletes in both the men's and the ladies will probably remain the same for a good few years to come at this stage at the top end. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. But no, do you know what? I love that you've come on and you've said that. In fact, you are the second guest I've had that's come on and said that. With hopefully time on your side as well to achieve that goal. And, you know, from my point of view as a coach and someone who met you recently, you know, I like that approach. I feel very inspired by what you've said. And I think it's probably a lesson to other 17-year-olds out there to say what it is that you want to achieve, and then go and put that work in. And in that kind of context of work around this, we had a conversation when we met in person, and I was trying to understand what it was you were doing next, because surely a 17-year-old's about to be in the second year of sixth form, or going to be going off to university, or, you know, whatever they are in their kind of educational level, or going and getting an apprenticeship and a job and whatever. And I found your answer very, very inspiring, but also very real in the current world that we live in. And I loved it. So I'll ask you that question. Where are you at right now in your life? And what are you doing day to day?
Right now, I'm I've just finished my personal training qualification, and I just started it yesterday, learning to be a running coach.
Excellent.
So yeah, that's where I am right now.
That's your day to day. And then obviously you mentioned earlier in the show that you are now, to quote you, you're all in on this Hyrox journey.
Yeah,
Which is really good, mate. And I love it. I love that you've said that, because what an opportunity I think there is, in the football world, we say the world is at their feet, and there are many young girls and young lads out there where the world is actually genuinely at their feet right now. But,
yeah,
in terms of Hyrox, I'm not sure the opportunity's not there, because I think it is. I think the opportunity's big.
yeah, 100%.
Would you say that's the same from your perspective?
Yeah, I think it's like I've got like a feeling that it's like a really unique opportunity that I'm in right now with Hyrox, which is why I'm like fully committing to it. Like it's as if I'm on, like, you see like students go over to like America and they get like a scholarship and they're doing their degree and then they're like training like a full-time athlete. It's like that's like the closest way to describe my like day-to-day life at the minute. Like I'll be training twice a day, but then also doing my educational stuff. So like my personal training and my running coach qualification. So yeah, it's pretty full on, but I love it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's the timing. The timing's good. It's a good time to be in this position that you're in.
Yeah.
And what do your parents think of all this?
They they love it. They're inspired by it. I mean, I can ask for like for more support and more encouragement from them. Like they help me out so much. They take me to these events. They're feeding me loads. All this training, you got to make sure you're eating enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm so grateful to have them as parents, because I wouldn't be able to do anything that I'm doing right now without their support.
Sounds like they're into it as well, though, because they're out there
Yeah.
on the floor. They're
So
out there on the
yeah,
dance floor.
my mum actually trains with me.
Okay.
Not every session, but I'd say about 50% of the stuff that I do, she'll join in with me. So like my like threshold runs,
Yeah.
she'll join in with them. A lot of the strength stuff she'll join in as well, because she's got goals in Hyrox as well. She wants to beat her like PB and do well, and she loves all this fitness stuff more than I do.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
I mean, that's why I got into it, because I've had her and my dad as role models growing up, who are so into being healthy and active. I've grown up with that from such a young age that, like, that's why I am who I am today, because of that
Yeah. No.
upbringing.
Yeah. No, that's really cool, and it's good to we as parents we can say that all of us parents out there, we can say, oh, here's the aim, this is what we're trying to achieve. But actually, to hear that from you about your journey and that being such a big part, that I'm sure they'll watch or listen to this as well, and they'll really appreciate that sort of feedback from that perspective, that everything they did has kind of paid off in a positive way for you as well. So no, I think that's really cool, mate. And what an exciting adventure. So I'm going to say it here. You heard it first here on the Rocks podcast with Harry, what he said, and we're not going to hold it. We're not going to hold him to any of it, but we're going to follow his journey, and hopefully we'll both have a long career in this sport. And hopefully we'll be able to keep in contact throughout the process, and we'll see how you get on, mate. And obviously, you know, once you met someone once, I think this community is so cool that we will bump into each other. And that's what I want to ask you. I want to ask you about this community, this whole hybrid racing community. I'm going to go in with this question. We met in person at Forder's gym doing their well-known Strive event. Just tell us a bit about Strive, the event, why you were there, who you were representing, who you were racing with.
Yeah, so it was sort of like a last minute thing actually. 2 weeks out. It might not even have been that. It might have been. I think it was like a week out. Team My Zone sent me a message on Instagram asking if I'd like to be a part of their men's team, which I was buzzing at. I was so happy when I got that message to be able to like represent like a company as big as My Zone in an event like this. It was and then that's why we do it. So yeah, and then Strive was really good, really fun. It's quite unique. Not many fitness events out there have that intensity to them. You know, like at the start line, doing a 250 meter sprint with like 30 other guys, like that's like it was like an experience I've never had.
Yeah, and I didn't ask you in relation to Hyrox, but it probably counts for Hyrox as much as it does for Strive. But as a 17-year-old, you're in there. Let's assume that, like, I think probably Peter Kelly was probably the oldest male in there with you. I don't know. Yeah. But when you look at you're in there on that start line, 17 years old, and some of those blokes were massive.
Yeah.
And they were absolute machines on those ergs, and on the assault bikes, etc. But how did you feel racing in that environment?
I just throw myself into things.
Yeah.
Like I don't really like back out of things like that. Like it could have been easy for me to be like, oh, I'm 17. There's all these like guys like twice as big as me, like racing. I just miss it. But
yeah,
like I mean, it didn't help because a guy on my team told me like second before we were starting. Oh, by the way, last year someone like got knocked into the fence and they went through the fence. So I was like, yeah, cheers, thanks, mate, that helps. That settles the nerves.
Yeah.
So I took the inside lane. I wasn't taking my chances on the outside lane after he was telling me that, because there was one corner which was pretty tight. But no, I just like throw myself into these things. Like, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the whole Strive event for me on a personal level was very refreshing in that sense. I think what you've just said sums it up nicely, because competition is okay, and competition is a good thing in the world. And perhaps, you know, British society has maybe lost a little bit of that at the younger age. I agree in grassroots everything and participation, but when we were standing on Saturday among a competitive field, and your answer that you gave about how you felt, by the way, it was very obvious from the side that you were not actually nervous, or anxiety didn't really get you or anything like that. You just threw yourself in. And there is one bit of footage that I've got actually where I would argue on that first corner, I'll try and dig it out and send it to you. On the first corner, you can see why you might have done what you did now, because of what you've just said about the little, you know, seconds before you started and the fence thing. And I think it's really cool to get that perspective, but nice to hear that you weren't intimidated, and you, like you said, what is the worst that would have happened to you?
Yeah. I mean, that's
And so, and you know, Forders, Darren and the team there, what any thoughts on them?
such a cool venue and place. It was like every hybrid athlete's dream gym. I love the event, and it was catered to so many like different fitness types, and it made me realize like more about my own fitness level, like where I'm at currently and what I need to improve on. So, like for example, like the first workout in the engine room, that was very catered towards the bigger guys who could pull like insane numbers on the ergs. So for like more of a endurance conditioned athlete like me, I couldn't really, I wasn't really like shining in that workout. But then the next one after that, I think it was called like the equalizer. It was a 750-meter run with like max effort burpees, wall balls, lunges. So then like that really, I felt like I could really show off in that event, show my fitness in that event. But yeah, it was really good. I thought going into the sprints, the shorter sprints, that I would have done better, but I've learned from that event. And you've only got to look at sprinters as well. Like they're big guys, they're jacked.
Yeah.
Because you need that power in your stride.
Yeah.
So that's where, like in the 250-meter sprints, these bigger guys were able to like go quicker than me. But then in the second workout, the equalizer, the one which I said was more conditioned to endurance athletes, it was a 750-meter run, which I came in like third on.
Yeah.
So like it like I said, it just catered for so many different fitness types, but it also taught me a lot about where I need to improve and where my weaknesses are in relation to these other people. I mean, I'm not going to be pulling as much as some of these guys in the ergs, but like it definitely made me realize where I need to improve and work on. And
yeah, no, absolutely. And I'd echo everything you said about Forders and Darren and the team down there. Like amazing venue. And actually, you said a hybrid athlete's dream gym, actually a hybrid coach's dream gym as well. I mean, I was just standing there the whole day thinking about if I had this, how would I do the programming? And I'll be honest, it would be very different, which shows the advantage of having that facility available, you know.
100%.
Do
they open in the winter?
Yeah, I assume so. I assume it looks like they're there all year round. So, you know, again, bit of resilience building there and a little bit of positivity, I'd imagine. So
because my mum said to me in the car straight away, she gets so cold. She's like, I don't know how they could be open in the winter.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. But no, I assume they are. So no, that's awesome.
Bit of character building, resilience.
Yeah, resilience and character building. I mean, your coach is massive on that, right? About that resilience and that character building. So, you know, good luck to you on doing all that, I think, because it's cool. But yeah, no, Strive was brilliant. And so we normally end the show with a kind of top tips or top 3 tips on something related to yourself. So I'm going to ask you this. In terms of young athletes, what would be your top tips for them in terms of getting into the Hyrox space?
Set goals that are controllable.
Yep.
So don't set goals which are out of your control. Because I mean, I learned through my experience with like my short like career in Hyrox so far, that when you set them external uncontrollable goals and don't achieve them, it has a massive like negative effect. So yeah, that'd be my top tip. Set goals that are fully in your control.
Yep. Yeah, that seems very logical to me and sounds very like a very good bit of advice, because it's been a while since I was your age, but you can get caught up in that moment, right? And set
100%.
unrealistic goals. and like you said, the controllable bit's a good point. You know, you know what you're doing with JK, for example.
Yeah.
He'll talk to you. You'll be giving feedback. You'll be doing the sessions, feedback, such and so on. And actually, you're in charge of what you do in that moment, right?
Yeah.
And it would be, yes, it'd be good to see how that all transpires. So, no, brilliant. Harry, it has been massively eye-opening to talk to you and get your perspective on things. Certainly a younger generation can listen to this as well and have that role model that's doing it. For us guys that are a little bit older, you know, listening to your perspectives there were really good and really cool for me. Like, there's a lot to learn from that, because as I continue to coach in this world, as well as other coaches who are listening, there are going to be a younger group of people coming through that want to do this. And, you know, maybe it will become trendy, maybe it won't, like we discussed at the beginning, but I think it's growing rapidly. And I think your age category is growing rapidly as well. And, you know, getting your thoughts and opinions there have been really cool. So if anyone wants to kind of follow your journey, Harry, where is there anywhere they can do that yet?
Yeah, my Instagram is harry.crawford15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they can follow you there.
Yeah.
Excellent. We'll try and put the handle in the description of the podcast as well, because then people can just simply follow it from there on Instagram. Perfect. That is right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to thank you, Harry, for coming on the show. Thanks very much, mate. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it so much.
Yeah, no, well done, mate. It's been great. And for everyone that's listening, thanks for listening to the show. Thanks for watching the show. Hopefully you've enjoyed the insights from Harry, and hopefully you'll be able to join us here again for more on the Rocks.